This is a 2019 Ford Fusion hybrid, and I think this is a criminally underappreciated car, especially as a value as a used car. And today I get a chance to drive it and give you my opinion. All right, welcome back to All Cars, y'all. I'm John, and I'm super excited about this. The Fusion is one of my favorite cars, and it has been for a couple of generations now. I've had many opportunities to drive these from when they first came out in the early 2000s, right up till the most recent version. And I would love to tell you to go pick one up new, but of course Ford has canceled these as they've moved everything to sport utilities. And this is a fantastic car, overshadowed, underappreciated, and the hybrid is an exceptional value. And today I get a chance to take a look at the outside, give you my opinions of the inside, and get this thing on the road, take it out, and tell you what it's like. Every time I look at a car that you could be considering as a used car, I ask myself two questions. The first is, would I recommend it to somebody else? And number two is, would I be proud to have one in my driveway? Would I be proud to own one? And I'm going to answer both those questions at the end. But first, let's start looking at the outside of this bad boy, because Ford absolutely nailed it with this. Now, the first generation of the Fusion was a little generic, a little square, a little boring, a very good car, but a little boring. And when Ford moved to this platform, they gave it this, well, Aston Martin-like nose, and every line on this car is beautiful. I humbly submit that this is the best looking car this side of a luxury car, this side of a premium car like a Lexus or a Genesis or something like that. I love the style of this car. The front looks fantastic. The headlights, Ford's done a good job of kind of splitting the difference between the modern trend of these little squinty headlights and having ones that end up looking kind of bubulous. This is a really nice compromise. Crystal clear glass, the insets inside, it looks fantastic. And I love the hood that they've got this ridge down the center here and down the side here. I'm sure that it adds some strength to the hood itself, but mostly I think it just looks fantastic. They are definitely, you can look at it and see, they're definitely edging toward the sportier side of the mid-size family hauler. They were surprisingly controlled in the amount of chrome they used on it. A little bit around the grille right here, a little bit of bright work right here. Everything else is all blacked out, even up around the top here. It's a reserved car, but it's got this strong, wonderful line right through the handles all the way down the side, and then the second one down here ends up breaking up what could be, in a lot of cars, just a boring expanse of door. And of course, I will point out, gas filler is on the driver's side where God intended it to be. Now, around the back, of course, you can pull out your handy dandy key, pop the trunk, and you end up with something that's a pretty good size for the mid-sized category. They do take up a lot of space right back here for the battery, but you still end up with something that's relatively competitive for the size. Without the battery, it's as good as anything else out there. It's got these bars that swing down. It doesn't have hydraulic ones that are all compressed, but at least they slide away and stay out of the way. It's a really nicely done trunk, in my opinion. Now in the back seat, things are admittedly pretty basic. I've got this seat about where I would sit. Once you get back here, there's pretty good space, just about one fist worth once you're seated back here. This is a little low. I bump my head on this just a little bit sometimes when I get in. Luckily, it's really well padded. It's got an armrest back here. It's got two vents that blow back here along with a power port. So it's okay. There's more, just about a fist worth of headroom where I am right now. But what I like about it is the fact that this one has this tan interior. Really lightens everything up. So many of the interiors that are all black can get so dark, but it's got this nice here. Now this is a hard plastic, but it looks good and it integrates well. Of course, this is soft, this is hard. Little mat pocket with a drink holder back here. Looks like a speaker, shaped nicely, bright work, a little bit different texture right here. This right here, really, really well done interior. Up front, more of the same goodness. Power windows, power mirrors, fuel filler release right here. Really nice interior overall. A little tiny bit low right here. All right, so once you get into the Fusion, I did a video recently where I talked about, I think Ford is one of the interior styling leaders, and it's this mixture of materials they do right here and shapes. I think that they have continued to improve it, but this ends up looking very upscale to me. Not luxury, I'm not trying to oversell it, but up here, soft touch, soft touch, soft touch. You know, this right here, this is flat black, but it looks really, really good. 2 cup holders, big space down here, and you can see with USB and a power port, but you can reach through. Very nice. Pretty standard Ford steering wheel with fantastic gauges. Absolutely love them. If I have a complaint about it, it's that it all ends up looking just a little tiny bit small to me, but automatic headlights over here. One of my big complaints about Fords, of course, is the up-down. The lock button is here, so if you rest your hand, you've got to turn it like this to hit it. It's just very, very unnatural to me. Between the seats, nice armrest, really deep, nice pocket right here. Super comfortable seats. Now, as much as I love this car, not every car is perfect, and there's a few things I don't like about this car. While I could pick on that for a while, the fact is it's the driving position that really, really kills me. Ford is going for more sporty here. So honestly, this feels a little high. This feels just a touch low, just a little bit. And you end up with more of a cockpit feel. It actually, I don't think, measures smaller than, say, my Honda Accord, but it ends up, because look how high this is relative to the seat, it ends up feeling more cockpitish, and therefore it feels a little more claustrophobic to me. It's not claustrophobic, it's just a little tighter than what I prefer. I have looked at these and considered buying these many times, and I never quite have, and part of the reason is this more cockpit sporty feel. I want something that sits more up and a little more open. If I raise the seat, well, then I'd bump my head right there. So, it does have a backup camera. I'll show you that real quick. Of course, it's got this. Backup camera is one of the better ones in a Ford vehicle. I've seen so many of these that are really grungy, and this is not. It's got Ford's pretty standard system right here, sync, which I really like. The more I see it, the more I like it. Audio, phone, nav, apps. You know, it's pretty responsive overall. You know, when you click on things, it's just pretty fast, pretty clear, nothing special, right? This is not going to wow you and your friends, but it's absolutely, I think, one of the best for medium-sized cars. Now let's talk about this real quick, because I like a gear shift, and I've been slow to adopt these right here. It feels very unnatural to me. For example, if you're backing out of a parking space to put it in reverse, back out, and then reach down, look, and have to turn it into drive. I'm sure as you drive one of these longer, you get used to the click versus just bang, bang, popping it into drive with my gear shifter. But one of the things that I've heard is this is a safety feature. And the reason is it's electronic. There's no linkage, physical linkage between this and the transmission. Okay? So what they've done, let's see if this works. If I put it in drive, my foot is on the brake. If I open the door, it automatically goes into park. So that's to prevent you from accidentally leaving it in drive and getting out of the car and your car driving away. I'm going to do that one more time so you can see it even better. I'm in drive. Oh, I'm going to hop out real quick. Took my foot off the brake and it immediately went into park. That's super, super cool and a really nice feature. While I get that, and I get that argument, my argument would be, Ford, you could do this with a little lever, not this stupid circle. You can actually have an electronic lever here, not have to have a physical. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of them, but I'm coming around to them. Electric brake, you press it down to unlock. You pull it up to put it in place. An eco mode, hill holder, I guess. Yeah, it looks like it. Or regenerative braking. I bet that's regenerative braking. And yeah, owner of this car keeps it in eco mode. So why don't we change setups, take this thing on the road, and I'll tell you what I think of it. All right, getting the Fusion Hybrid on the road. Now, admittedly, this is a hybrid, so I get to talk about that and how smooth and how quiet it is. Right now we're working under battery power, so it's totally silent except for the road noise. This is a fabulous hybrid system. It really, really is. And I like how good it works. But a lot of what I have to say is about the Fusion platform. Like when I talk about this being a little bit low, that's a Fusion thing. And the hybrid kind of accentuates in some ways the goodness of it. But it is a little bit of a detriment. For the increase in gas mileage, it is heavier and it feels heavier. This feels unbelievably rigid. It feels so structurally rigid, and as you go over bumps, it's just a thunk, a thunk. It rides so well. It's sporty a little bit. It rides well. It's not a Mazda 6, but I think in many ways it's far better than a Camry. And the problem with the hybrid is the sense of heft up front. And overall, the Fusion, it feels heavier. By the numbers, I don't think it is heavier than, say, a Honda Accord, but it has a feeling of mass, of solidity, of substance, if you will, that's a little lost on some other cars. This feels like a substantial car. It's a little bit of wind and tire noise back here, but nothing unusual for the market it's set in. It accelerates relatively well. The hybrid feels a little slow because it feels like you're pulling that mass along, but the gasoline ones don't have that sense. You know, if you get one of the gas-powered cars without the hybrid, they feel quite peppy. They ride great on the interstate, and you know, right now I'm doing 45, and it doesn't even feel like it. A really, really impressive car. Really thick vinyl steering wheel here. It's got a couple of little bump outrights there for your hands. It's a good size. It's easy to use. You know, Ford standard. I still think that the volume should be on the other side, but this is an incredibly comfortable car. And the seats are fantastic as well. I find these fit me very, very well. Maybe I'd make them about 1/4 of an inch wider for my big old hiney, but they're incredibly comfortable. There's nothing about this car that I hate. But for me, it's a collection of tiny little things that have prevented me from buying one and keeping me in my Accord. You know, this being a little low, this being a little high, this being a little bit higher right here, a little more cockpitish, and that sense of lightness I get in my Honda, they feel at least equally rigid. This just feels more damped, per se. Like, things are more like thud than anything else. It's a wonderful car to drive. I think it's incredibly attractive. It gets good gas mileage. It handles well, and it's a good cruiser, too. We had one for about a week or a week and a half, something like that. It was fantastic on the interstate. Unbelievable car with fantastic tech. I do believe that the Ford Sync system is one of the better ones in this mid-range of cars, and it's fantastic. It does everything you want it to do. You know, again, it's not a Lexus system, for example, but plug your phone in, you know, connect it up, listen to your podcast. It does everything you want with the technology, and there's more above this. This is a relatively basic of the hybrid options. So let's talk about value real quick. Now, the Fusion has been plagued with the same issue that hits a lot of our domestic brands, and that is it depreciates faster than, say, the Camry and the Accord. And that works to your benefit because this is no longer being sold new. I can't come out and tell you you need to buy one new and it's worth a Camry. I think it is. If this is still available, I still think it is the equal of the Camry at least, and I think it's better than almost anything else out there from other manufacturers. I love it that much, but you can't buy it new because it's been canceled. So as a used car, that depreciation works to your benefit. This car is 2019. The owner has had it for about a year, and it is at the end of 2021 when I'm recording this. He got it for just over $16,000. Now, there were taxes tagged, title, as well as the dealer necessities, and I think he bought a extended warranty on this one as well. So it was substantially more than that once he, you know, put a down payment and got a loan. But $16,000 for a 2019 midsize sedan hybrid. All right. By the way, right now it says this car has been getting 39.8 miles per gallon. Owner does a mix of in-city driving, like to his office, and then interstate to get around that side of the town to get to him. But basically 40 miles per gallon average, $16,000 is what he paid. Now, because we are in the chip shortage and everything else and prices have been going up, I'm sure you can't get it for that now, but it still represents a fantastic value over those Camrys and Accords and everything else out there. When it comes to the midsize sedan, it is such a competitive market. You really need to drive several because they each hit the same point, but they feel different in it. They are tailored for different people. The Mazda 6, for example, is sportier. The Honda is a little more open and airy and has that sense of lightness I talk about so much. The Camry is, well, it's got some funky styling, fantastically reliable. It has a hybrid option that's about as good as this anyway, but it feels more enclosed inside. The shapes are a little funnier inside, and honestly, I just much prefer this car. So I think you can tell I love this car. I really love this car, and it's really minor things that keep me out of it. You know, this being a little high, this being a little low, and all of these things would go away if you own the car. My criticism of the Fusion comes from the fact that I drive several different cars back to back to back, and it's only in comparison that there's a few things about this that they're not bad, they're just almost annoyances. If I drove this car every day, those would fade away. I would never ever notice them. This silly circular gear shifter here would just be my gear shifter. I wouldn't think about it. This, I would learn to duck my head a little bit better. But it's still moving out of, say, my Honda, out of a Camry, out of the other cars in our fleet, as it were. It's noticeable when you get in that, oh, I should have done something a little bit different there. So I'm going to finish up the way I did the last video, trying this out. Got to answer those two questions. Question number one is, would I recommend this car to other people? Absolutely. I love the style. I love the outside. I love the inside. I love the tech. I love the seats, the ride, the handling, the gas mileage, everything about it. And I think it represents one of the best values for a mid-sized car you can buy. Certainly if you get it, you know, that 1 or 2 years old, you're getting something potentially under warranty in a fantastic deal. Number 2 is, would I be proud to own one? And the answer is yes, absolutely. While I have nitpicked this, you may have noticed it's like 2 or 3 things are all I'm coming up with. I would not hesitate to drive one of these for the next 5 to 10 years. I would not hesitate to trade my Honda in and drive a Fusion. I'm not going to, because I like not having car payments. But absolutely, I would recommend this to others. Absolutely, I would be proud to have one in my driveway. I think it's a fantastic car, and I lament that Ford did not decide to take this platform and develop a new one and come out with a new car. They have given up. They have ceded control of the midsize to Toyota, Honda. I know Volkswagen still has the Passat out there, but the fact is Ford gave up and tried to focus on sport utilities. And I think that's extremely sad, because I think this is a fantastic car. I would have liked to have seen another generation of it and see what they could have done with it. So I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you taking a ride with me. I'd love to hear your opinion. So please like this video. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't. Leave me a positive comment below. Let me know any questions. But I'd like to know your opinion of the Fusion.